Good evening, everybody. I know I put the tweet out a little bit earlier than I wound up going live, but we've got quality options. Everything's ready to go. I hope you are all well, because I don't think my species is going to be. But let's take a second here. We'll jump into Stellaris. We'll get the usual disclaimers and no, it's the same Libra update. We'll jump in. We'll take a look at some of the details. We'll try and figure out a strategy for how I'm gonna survive, and we'll have some fun. A little bit of an odd weekend, and I realize this is becoming a common Monday refrain, but I think what's happening is my sleep schedule is getting sufficiently disrupted over the course of the weekend that I'm sort of failing to reset it properly. And it's like just, again, having a bit more wearable tech now is actually doing a decent job in terms of just letting me know like what kind of sleep I'm actually getting as opposed to what I think I'm getting. So like I kind of thought I was skirting around 6 hours. It says here it's not even 4. So, and that's like, for work, that's absolutely not, that's not a way to be. Like, for me, that's, like, I definitely had a fog for work. But as just a purely practical matter for Stellaris, like, particularly for Stellaris, I really do think that this is a game that benefits from me being a little more on top of things, both because I'm less inclined to meander conversationally, and also I'm just going to be sort of a better thinker strategically in the game. And I think the last few streams that I've done of Stellaris, even acknowledging that there was a fairly long, like a fairly long break with the Orwell stuff. I have a feeling that I've kind of been I've been at a little bit of a just out of fuel while doing the game. So it's not, unfortunately, it's not going to be fixed today unless I take a nap. And if I take a nap, there's no stream. But I will do my best not to completely grind the playthrough to a halt. And who knows, maybe we'll get lucky and we can even come out on top. I certainly have a few objectives that I want to accomplish. Just I also know that like what I want to do is going to come crashing up against what the L gate's going to serve up. Anyways, we're on the Libra Custodian patch. So one thing I should point out is that I'm actually continuing a save started in 3.2. So I did notice that the changes to the way Unity works and the removal of administration as a resource is actually something that caused some fairly significant disruptions in the Empire. Now, the good news is that economically, we've more or less got a handle on the situation. And a drawback is that I'm really not sure what I'm going to be doing about my my very high Empire sprawl. Because I actually want to expand even further, and one of the things that's going to be limiting my expansion is the rate at which I'm gaining technology. So I think one of the things I'm just going to have to do is build more science and just push through that. But let's jump into the game and actually see how that works in practice rather than in theory. Now, I will take a minute here and just say I am playing a copy of the game given to me by Paradox. This is both the base game back when it first came out, but also all of the DLC that I'm playing. And I'm playing all of the DLC except for the Aquatics and Necroid species packs. And actually, maybe one clarification I should give is that I was given, or I bought humanoids and plantoids on my own dime. So, if you are considering the playing of a game an endorsement, or if you're trying to make a buying decision or that, please do keep in mind that I was given a copy of the game for promotional purposes. And certainly I wouldn't be playing it for a few years if I didn't enjoy it. But it's kind of up to you to decide what, what that's going to mean in the grand scheme of things. Now, if memory serves, so we've got the Spectre. We're best positioned to take it on if it goes into the IOLAM system. Actually, either the IOLAM system or Jardlafon, but I don't think it's going to take either. What I should probably do is just have my Navy on standby. The curators have told me that I'm actually strong enough to take it on, which surprised me a little bit because I really don't feel that this is all that strong of a fleet. But it is to my benefit if they go after the Red Dwarf systems, which means I may be losing a few for myself, but we'll see if we can maybe rebuild things. But in addition, we do have the L-Gate, so we got a quick peek at what awaits us. Nope, apparently the science ship's still in there. But yeah, a bunch of very scary enemy fleets. Now, I didn't really do a full accounting of what the sort of the enemy empires have so far as L-Gates themselves are concerned. I am eventually going to have to worry about the gray Tempest coming out of this black hole. I'd actually probably be willing to surrender it to a certain extent. But it now means that Jinkath is probably going to need some stronger defenses, or alternatively, I need to bulk up at the L-Gate itself. Hello, Chocolate Lemon. How are you doing? Okay, so that's that taken care of. I feel like I worked out a plan for what my future... No, I didn't. I probably did. I'm sure it's written down somewhere where I thought it was very clever for me to write it down, and now I can't find it. I'm very sleepy, and I realize I've said this a couple of times over streams, but that does not make it any less true. But I am here to do my best. Okay. So we do have a deficit of consumer goods, which maybe surprises me a little bit. I thought that was balanced out. Let's let the month roll over and see whether or not that's true. I could probably stand to get some more alloys, but I'll save that for the time being. Yeah, overall, we'll keep the influence because I'm probably gonna have to rebuild a few systems. And sort of our main goal has been to try and eclipse these guys either technologically or economically so that we can offer them subsidiary status. The big challenge with that approach now is that in addition to having a Leviathan potentially destroying all of my bases, I may also wind up with a Grey Tempest pouring through and taking my capital while I'm busy trying to vassalize the Loxongrakva Royal States. So, we'll see. I mean, I'd like to. They're actually going to be relatively insulated from the Grey Tempest, I suspect. So they're in a better spot than I am. But I don't know. We'll see where it goes. Only other thing for me to handle right now, I suppose, is oh yes, actually, I think I wanted to expand out to Zandaban. That's just kind of saying I don't care about Sprawl anymore and I want another planet to inhabit, but not really, Kingfisher. I mean, I'm the one to have opened it, so I know that it's going to be pouring through enemy territories first. What I'm probably going to do... So, one thing I was going to be doing no matter what is building up my my navy. So, you know, that's the thing. Just simply having ships to throw at the problem is definitely one. I think it would also be kind of nice to let the... Like, so I'm clearly the way I'm set up right now, I'm nowhere near ready. If I combine all of my ideal fleets, I will be equal to one of the Tempest Shoals. Now, of course, it has a smaller number of ships, and there's some other things that might, you know, make those numbers work a little bit better for me. So, I believe if I recall correctly, the large ships are more sort of beam focused, so shields would help. But then I also think like I know there's also ships that like completely bypass shields in there. But yeah, honestly, at this point, it's kind of twofold. One, I want it to get to be a big enough problem that other empires deal with it, so that they'll at least clear out a little bit of the first wave. And one of my goals is actually to just be able to get a construction ship into terminal egress, and then start hunting. So honestly, it's kind of batten down the hatches and build some ships as I can. But to be completely honest with you, like I really do not have a good plan. I sort of opened the L gate on a lark, if I'm completely honest. And this is probably not the smartest choice for me to do, but I think I am going to build out to Zandaban. Okay. Let's think about any... Okay, my ships are where I want them to be. Let's just take a look at employment. So we've got spaces available, but obviously I don't want to create problems for the workforce. There's a small argument for switching Nadal over to industrial districts. At some point I'm going to have to replace these civilian industries. I feel like there's better things that I can do. And the slave processing facility is kind of well, I mean, we have a fair number of slaves. I suppose that can work. I don't know though. Energy is pretty good. But clearly I don't want to spike my consumer goods at a time when I have a deficit. So okay. Right, I'm eventually going to need to settle through and figure out how I want to ascend the various worlds. Okay, free jobs, and it's for specialists. Of course it is, yeah. What did I want this to be? So it says this is an industrial world, which sort of makes sense. I mean, obviously the generator districts... But then it also has the odd factory, so... Okay. I hate going halfway on this sort of stuff, but I think I'm gonna stick with it. It's just starting, and currently on the way to being dominated. Yeah, so I think in my immediate needs, I'm going to take this Spectre. I'm willing to give up some bases in hopes that it moves to Iolam, but if it looks like it's moving somewhere else, I think I'm just going to take the fleets and punch it on the nose. Again, build out the fleets in anticipation of the Grey Tempest coming in. And if we have an opportunity to try and vassalize these guys, take it. But I think subsidiary status is probably going to have to wait till after the crisis. So, let's see where the Spectre goes. Call that a fair deal? You spit in the face of Numa. Pah! Oh, but we have customers. Our sincerest apologies for that display. Some do not have the courage to accept good fortune when it falls into their lap. Show us your wares. Forgive us our intrusiveness, but we have noticed your planet, Siluria Prime, possesses a unique potential not currently being realized. A vent can be opened in its sacred core, from whence the flow of wealth can trickle forth. Let us reveal to you hidden secrets on your land. We will require a nominal remuneration, of course. As always, if you need time to consider, we can notify you before we depart your territory, giving you one more chance to accept the goddess's generous offer. Oh, 200 minerals for extra generators, and yeah, I think I'm totally fine with that. Blessings upon you, Raxare, for your business brings us closer to the goddess. Now, Siluria is more factory-oriented, though, so I may not actually take advantage of all of that. So question number 1 is whether or not it's actually going to take out the station. I suspect it will.
Station under attack.
Yeah. Here follows the latest newsletter to all our patrons. The Enclave is in a frisky mood. The creation of the Centilis Rift has caused many an artist to change their primary focus to creating new experiences for it. So the most noteworthy so far, the most noteworthy to come out of this endeavor is an orchestral piece conveyed via scent. Our work continues, and any donations would be gladly accepted. Yes, I will. I pretty much always accept the donation because, I mean, first of all, this is a month's income, so that's not a problem at all. But number 2, it gets me influence, which is often in short supply. So, number 1, build the outpost. Number 2, Kephoth is... Right, so we don't have jobs for the little people. We have labor, but the problem is that it's all specialized. So, in this case, we need... oh, hang on. So if I do... I think some of these were chattel slaves, if I recall correctly. Yeah, including the Nitroxy. That does make sense at all. This might really mess with everything, but I'm going to try closing out all the jobs. Oh, I think I made it worse. Oh, wait a minute. No, I'm sorry. I'm trying to remember what chat said. I think it's if I change the priority, not the jobs. Okay, so if I say... Yeah. Okay, well, that was a bit of... It's not exactly how I wanted to line up the work, but it'll do. It's so I suspect. Thanks, Kingfisher. Yeah, I suspect probably where I got it wrong. So like obviously I was messing around with the minuses in that. I suspect the limit to that is if I hit, like, for prioritizing metallurgists, I noticed that the unemployment returns. So it seems like I have to focus researchers and, like, so I guess there's no way for me to, like, really... Well, I guess in that case I could, like, subtract researchers and then prioritize. Yeah. No. Okay. So yeah, it seems like a little more blunt than I realized, but that's fine. It's the game will work it out.
Starbase lost.
Okay, what are they up to?
Incoming transmission. Wow, we really hit this tech out of the ballpark.
The Elemented Concern would like to form a non-aggression pact with me. So I don't mind the idea of better relations with these guys, but I would, particularly because they are protected by the Tecarus Link, which is sort of the largest power in the galaxy right now. The thing is that I want, on the chance that the defensive pact breaks apart, I actually want the option of being able to take them over. So in this case, I think I will decline. Okay, proton launchers. These energy projectiles consist of lightly concentrated protons capable of causing immense damage to the hull of enemy ships. I really should be thinking about designing fleets to deal with the Grey Tempest, but it has been a while since I've dealt with them. Research Institute seems like... So, obviously, better guns is kind of hard to turn down, but I actually like the idea of a Research Institute right now, because that'll be able to give a little extra charge to my... my lagging research efforts, and I think we'll just pay up for the consumer goods for a while. So it definitely looks like they're heading to ILM. So perhaps, are you kidding me? So I have to like keep it focused. It looks like. Okay, I'm not doing that. We have other places that need unskilled labor. Or I thought we did. Yeah, there we go. We can stick them on the agri world. Yeah, and I think oddly enough, like, I know Imperator Rome, not exactly the most, like, it's not exactly a beloved Paradox title, although I think some of the, like, the anger about it has subsided. I really feel like the... Oh, sorry. Should tend to my other duties. Like that one, I don't think you could manually assign people to different jobs, but it did seem to have a slightly, like, it seemed to give you enough levers to be able to sort of shape the structure of the city, which I sort of liked. So in this case, it's not, you know, it's not fully like what Stellaris used to be in terms of just sort of the ultimate command economy, right? You're basically, you're pretending like you're the social planner in the, you know, in an econ class, and you know, telling everyone what's good for them. But you know, clearly this one, I feel like there are some pretty common sense things that you could want to do in the game here that just simply don't happen because of the way that that jobs work. And again, there's always the possibility that I'm misunderstanding something, but in this case, I'm kind of taking the path of least resistance in terms of just being able to move people around in such a way that I don't see those warning messages anymore. All right, our spotters have begun ingratiating themselves with targets we've marked as potentially useful. Acknowledged. And the Imperial Sons don't want to keep me out. We no longer see any reason to keep you locked out of our territory. Our borders are open to you again. I was wondering, I was like, oh, is it eating Jinkath? But no, I was just paused. But yeah, actually, if I'm going to try and pick a fight, I should send the ships out. So it looks like we don't lose anything by... cancel. I mean, it'd be nice if we didn't, but let's get in position. Oh, and pirates. Well, fortunately, they're nearby, so... with its vulnerable and unprotected trade route, the Stellaris system has attracted large numbers of ne'er-do-wells, and following a recent power struggle, these criminal degenerates are now sufficiently organized to operate a significant pirate armada. They're using this ragtag fleet to intercept as much trade in the system as they can.
Construction complete.
So there's going to be quite a bit of repair, but we'll work with it. Yeah, moving to the relic world just so that we can get some more space for our people. And finally, the last the last bit in Supremacy, the Great Game. As we continue to expand, other empires will inevitably challenge our claims, as we would theirs. We are locked in a great game of resources and territory. It is nothing less than our duty to come out on top. So higher damage versus star bases. This is obviously why we picked this one last, but we do get the final point in Supremacy. So adopting all Supremacy traditions will grant the following effects. Unlocks the War Doctrines policies and an additional Ascension perk. I haven't really been thinking a whole lot about what I want to do. So we did do Become the Crisis. That was fun. But maybe I can try something a little different this time around. Enigmatic Engineering is cute. I mean, Grasp the Void from just technically for me is actually quite useful, but I haven't really upgraded my existing star bases, and I know I'm going to be spending all of those alloys on building a better navy. Eternal Vigilance. So the problem is that my current placement of star bases are really not kind of built to accomplish that. Is Executive Vigor Edicts Fund plus 100. Ah, I get it now. So it's helping you. So basically, if you want, you can get more. You can get more of these, but if you do, you eat into your regular unity. Okay, that's actually kind of a neat way of handling that. Sorry, I didn't really think through a lot of this. I guess the thing for me right now is that none of these exactly scream to me that I need them right now. I can definitely build around them, but I think probably the better thing for me to do right now is just sit on the Ascension perk, which is a shame because I realize that there are some benefits to having the Ascension perks now, but I'm not entirely sure I want to give up one of those slots quite yet. I'll probably do something based on star bases, but why make the guess? Why not why not just see what you need and build accordingly? So looks like it might actually be going to Fuela. In which case I think that doesn't help me. Although if they wind up in Safaban, then... Definitely supporting the veto power. More power to me. So I wasn't sure if I overspent on the alloys for that. I shouldn't. Or sorry, influence for that. I shouldn't, but... So right now this is just rebuilding what I lost. It'll be the same with Niall as well. Here follows the latest newsletter for all our patrons. We have abandoned the attempts to create centered media. It was a foolish idea and has brought nothing but wasted time and unpleasant odors. In order to find our way back again, we will need donations from our trusted patrons. We thank you for your continued support. So, again, I'm actually happy to get these, although looks like I'm losing... Oh yeah, I'm losing a bunch of cash because of the trade.
Mining station lost.
Sounds really mad about that. Okay. Looks like I've already got one on the way to... Whoa! Get out of there, my friend. You're not strong enough. Well, I got something I can make them do. And we're not quite ready for the relic activation. I sent the whole fleet, didn't I?
Found some enemies.
It's a little overkill, but...
Hostile. our fleet's getting what's coming to them.
I'll say. Okay, a few events coming up. Short list of targets has been drawn up. Those operatives who are no longer tasked with surveillance will provide cover for the others. Good. So nothing else, I just want the trade back. Okay, so yes, I actually really need to take advantage of this as soon as possible. So, everyone... Actually probably should have been tracking that a lot closer than I actually was. And my Warform can clean up the pirates.
Hostile station engaged. Imagine the profit margins on this tech.
Battleships. Okay, big deal for us here. The S8751 Warform has destroyed a pirate station in the Stellaris system and has recovered its strong room module. Okay, and the largest of the standard military vessels, battleships are traditionally heavily armored and sport several gun batteries. So, I think if I have to worry about the shield and potentially armor penetrating enemies from the Grey Tempest, I think things like flak artillery would be more helpful. But obviously mineral purification hubs is the cheapest tech, which has kind of been how I've approached this so far. So it feels bad to do it, but I am going to do it. So the one bit of good news is as soon as it goes into Safaban, it's sort of trapped there. We just kind of need to hope that it stays in the system for a bit. As the operation nears its conclusion, Spymaster Daklinex has moved to secure our new asset within the Nar consciousness. Our remaining operatives are poised to facilitate any cover he may need. Commence the operation. So I've got a few things to catch up. Crash Starship, yet another translated log. Oh, hey, sorry, Olaf, I didn't see you there. How are you doing tonight? It's always good to see you. Yet another transmitted log. Running out of food. 8 are dead 5 cycles ago, but not enough to last us. We had a vote and decided to eat the captain. Engineer Zarbla was still working hard on subspace transmitter. She assures me it is nearly complete. It looks very complex. Pervax's last secondary appendage is shriveled up and turned magenta. Death is near. Okay, if you can just give me a quick second here. I am actually I'm still feeling like a little foggy. I know it's been half an hour since I started, so I'm not quite ready for a break right now. But I am actually going to take a second just to get some water. It's actually because Olaf's here and I'm feeling a little uncomfortable. No, I do actually just need a second to clear my head a little bit, and some water sounds like a really great way for me to do that. So I apologize, and I'll be back in just a moment. Oh yeah, stretch would be a great idea, actually. I kind of stretched while I did it, but yeah, sorry about that. I'll maybe just I'll say this as close to the top as I can. I normally like to try and go for a full-length stream, and I prefer doing any streaming over no streaming. But just because I'm actually kind of feeling the effects of the weekend a little bit more than I thought I would, I'll maybe just telegraph ahead of time. If I don't quite have the gas in the tank, I might call it early. But I'm gonna do my best. It's also just partly because this. So, okay, personal life story. Some of you may know that I have a complicated relationship with my employer. I'm generally unhappy. I wound up where I wound up. I went for sort of a set of ideals, and certainly, so the job that I'm doing not only is within my field, it's actually in a very narrow specialization that I can argue to have like a certain degree of like genuine expertise on. So there are some things that should make the workplace quite desirable, and it's entirely all of the like office politics stuff and just working with a bunch of people who just clearly do not value the quality of the work. And unfortunately, you know, if you are in the minority in this one, for those of you who, I know some people have very strong opinions on Steve Jobs, but I actually think Steve Jobs has some very good things to say about, and I realize like there's going to be a type of person who says this is a toxic workplace he's describing, but he's had some pretty decent things to say about attracting and sort of maintaining sort of A players in a team, and particularly about how a drop in standards can be one of the most corrosive features of that, and I'm very much witnessing that firsthand. So I do as much as I can to hey Night Valian. You know, I do as much as I can to like try and keep sharp and try and not let that rot sort of sink in for myself. But that's just I speak quite a bit about work, and that's basically why, because it's a bit of a struggle. But this last little while, so there's a somewhat big release that I'm going to be doing, and I need to present sort of the results that I intend to sort of give to the client. And I spent some time, so one of the things that is very nice about my current manager is he is quite supportive. So the person I most directly report to is supportive of my stuff and what I do. Actually got me a gift certificate for Christmas, which surprised me. I got some nice books out of that. But unfortunately, a lot of the problems I have are a little more structural, so there's only so much that they can do. And one thing that's been very nice about them is that they have supported me in my effort to try and make sensible improvements. So there's a lot of systems that have been built, and in the office right now, there's a lot of people who seem to have found religion with the R programming language. There's nothing inherently wrong with R. It's not exactly my thing. I've definitely transitioned to Python. I'm very happy with it. And frankly, if I could, I would happily use Stata or SAS like day in and day out. Like I actually generally think that software that you pay for, like there's a reason you pay for it, right? They take the time working on the stuff that the open source crowd doesn't like doing. Stata is a really good program, but with that in mind, like I like Python. I'm really happy with it. So, but what I've noticed is that because it's very fashionable, there will just be a ton of these like almost hobby projects lying around as part of a system. So long story short, I was kind of given the authority to just go in and sort of reshape it. And I turned like this thing that I was doing, like it's a semi-regular thing that I do. It used to take like a week. When I first did it, it took like a week to make everything work. And I'm like, this should not take a week. This definitely is a very frustrating procedure. And I built things. You can probably get it done in an afternoon, but I sort of book a day because I'm lazy and I want the half day to myself. No, just to allow for contingencies. But it seems that somebody messed around with the permissions, and it's basically broken my entire division's access to really important things, including very necessary components. So one of the things for me about, so like I always feel a little self-conscious whenever, I am getting to the end of this story, but I always feel a little self-conscious when I talk about, I have, specialized knowledge in something, and I'm lucky enough that in this particular job that I do, I can sort of call on that. One of the things that I think is an expectation, about being a professional and being professional writ large is that while you can have perfectly understandable excuses, it's like, yeah, well, whoever was doing the permissions or whatever tech person was messing around, messed up, but we need to delay the presentation or whatever. My feeling is that if I'm, as good and as clever as I say I am, wouldn't it be so much better to say, yeah, there was a problem and everything was on fire and I still delivered it anyway, because that's just how good I am. So that was today's work, basically, is I'd sort of built a system assuming that I would have regular access to this very fundamental part of our systems, and that assumption was broken. But my manager did actually point out a rather convenient little feature on a program that everybody loves to hate. It's an internally built program that everybody loves to hate. But it happened to give me just enough to be able to bridge the gap. And it's not the ideal version of this thing that I would do, but I feel confident enough in the conclusions that I will be presenting tomorrow that, I was able to get the work done. But yeah, with that in mind, like that was kind of something of what I was thinking about over the weekend. That's also why I'm so darn tired, because basically today has been something that should have been, a day's work last week, has instead just sort of been trying to put out all the fires and working through it. But we play games to escape work, not to be be work. So. Well, I think one of the things that drives me a little crazy about it is that I have heard the somewhat dismissive comments on, the stuff that I do. Because, like, everybody's got their pet language, right? So there's some people who take the fact that I do Python very personally because they sort of see it as a threat to their R situation. Because, like, the one thing that I think, at least in my work, again, I'm not a great programmer, but the one thing that does seem to come up quite a bit is that I do know my stuff as far as computing is concerned. So I think the concern is that it's like, oh, he's going to show that your Python's better and it's going to take away our toys. I'm like, no, I really don't care what language you use. I don't think it's a very interesting conversation, to be frank. I work better in Python. I get stuff done faster, and insofar as I'm taking money to do work, I think it kind of behooves me to get it done as quickly as possible. Hey, Rouge Light Girl, great to see you. But yeah, I don't know. It's sorry, I totally lost the plot on the topic as well. But just, I don't know, hearing some rather dismissive comments on the nature of my work or what I like, the added value I bring. I always kind of think back to moments like this, and I'm like, well, there's a lot of people walking around talking about how revolutionary their stuff is, and it always seems to be breaking every couple of weeks. So I mean, I'm just building stuff around it. Like, I just don't want to use it. And one of the reasons why I suspect over the coming year I will have fewer things break is because I'll use it less and less. But obviously it's difficult to work in an environment where there's like group of people who are kind of denying you your wins because it's it's inconvenient from there for something that's quite unrelated to getting the work done. Anyways, that's one of the reasons why I'm sort of tired and distracted today, is that there's the appreciable amount of mental strain of the day has kind of starting to creep up on me. Okay, we clearly have some employment problems. So what I'm going to do here, let's... I think I'll just build the 3 districts here, and we need industry more. Okay, so we have space for 1 worker, but what we really need are specialists. Okay, what's Dolok gonna give us? New Bale. Okay, that's good for the farming world, actually. So how about Castor? We are doing the opposite of winning Rouge Light Girl. I have unleashed the Grey Tempest on the galaxy, so there are at least 5 fleets of 35k strength just waiting to harvest us. And I'm about to go and fight a Leviathan in these red stars. Hopefully that will be... I mean, again, the Curator Order told us that we should be able to handle it, so I'm going to take them at their word. But if nothing else, it will be fun to watch the disaster unfold. Asset acquired. Spymaster Daklinex reports from the Nar consciousness. A successful execution so far. We have laid claim to part of the Nar consciousness entity, an asset which will allow us to interfere with the Hive, obscure our movement against it, and much more. Okay. So the big question here, the Nar are my friends on paper, but what I'm trying to do here is boost up my ability to... Oh, I was not expecting them to have good code breaking. But yeah, so essentially what I'm doing here is I'm just acquiring, trying to acquire more and more assets so that we can take this up to 100%. So even though we're giving some things up, I want to do this just because the I don't have a immediate need for using this intel on the Nar consciousness, so just being able to pay with what I've already gained will give me some long-term benefits. There's also an important thing which I forgot to do, which is we've got our shipyard, so let's build as many battleships as we can, and then I also want to upgrade because we really should be running more than 1 shipyard at this point, and I've just been lazy about that. Okay, sorry about the digression there. Right, the Nar are non-aggression with the element concerned. Again, probably the right call. I just wanted to avoid any entanglements with them, so I have the... Oh, hang on. No, sorry. Broken. But yeah, I just kind of want the option to be able to go to war with them if the strategic environment changes. Okay, so rather than chase down the spec, there's nowhere it can... There's nowhere else it can go. So we're just gonna stay in place. As the operation nears its conclusion, Spymaster Toxodol has moved to secure our new asset within the enlightened kingdom of Con Aramis. Our remaining operatives are poised to facilitate any cover she may need. Spymaster Toxodol reports from the enlightened kingdom of Con Aramis. A successful execution so far. We have secured access to an official within the Conaraman civic hierarchy. This asset will be kept secure but poised, ready to assist us with future operations, particularly when we might brush up against diplomatic or governmental issues. So let's just take a quick second here. Obviously, we've got some pretty good intel already. We are on our way to 100%. So what we want to do now is just sit on it. I do eventually want to be expanding out my branch networks, but you'll notice, of course, that they have been investing pretty heavily on enforcers. So And there is a kind of a cost for me expanding out sort of so far. So the original plan was, of course, to subsidize, or well, not subsidize, to turn these guys into a subsidiary and then open up all of our branches inside the, the freshly domesticated Loxongrakvan royal states. But technology or commerce have been keeping me from accomplishing that.
This tech had better generate some revenue.
Standardizing workflows for upgrading and retrofitting ship components can lead to massive energy gains. Command limit's kind of tempting, but... Well, see, the Xeno Outreach Agency is the better one, though, just because of the time that it takes. Again, if our goal is to try and get... to close the gap, the technologies that I can research as quickly as possible are the ones that'll get me there faster.
Our science ship is under attack.
Where? I wish it would say where they went missing. All right, well, unlucky for me. I really don't know how I feel about this, but I'm going to take a quick peek.
Evading hostiles.
Okay, so Grey Tempest showed up. Yeah, Interdictor Tempest Shoal. Well, it's next door to my allies, so I should probably be a little sad about that.
We've got to shake those hostiles.
All right, Nadal's got the same problem with unskilled labor. In general, it's actually just a broader problem with the with my economy as a whole. It looks like so. If anything, Siluria is going to be losing basic jobs. Caster is full up, it looks like. I can't build out on Nadal, the tech world. Yeah, full up. I mean, I'm not crazy about Kalsanch being the place where we dump everyone, because that's going to fill up sooner rather than later. And we've a new... Not sure how I feel about that, but more administrative sanctions will give me more power as a member of the council. Okay, so the thing I was focused on was just getting a little bit of intel.
This tech had better generate some revenue.
Okay, so nothing in this system. If the Spectres vanished, I'm going to be very upset. A bid for interplanetary resource pools and more flexible research grants. Okay, so that's going to be a big one for my tech worlds and for the... see, I really want to do predictive algorithms, but research speed plus 5% is too good to pass up. But the research... Nope. Found it! From hell's heart I stab at thee!
Boom. We built something.
Destruction of the Wraith. The haunting creature born from light pulses is finally neutralized. Although it remained until the end a ghost among the stars, and in many ways a mystery, the process by which our ships managed to destroy it was observed by the most pessimistic of our scientists, who argued that it would be impossible. To understand exactly how our fleets completed this seemingly insurmountable task, these scientists have meticulously documented the previously unseen properties of light and energy that the Wraith put on bright display today. So we get the special residue studies modifier, and we will get 5% to physics research. I believe that's permanent. 5% to energy weapon damage, and then a 10% bonus to energy credits. The light has gone out. Okay, more importantly, what did I lose? So I'm going to write some IOUs on my... Sorry, I also had a... What is this? Apparently I went nuts budgeting over the weekend. I'm actually running out of paper near my desk that doesn't have a ton of writing on it already. Okay, so I need 12 Corvettes. And just 2 destroyers? I mean, obviously we don't want to lose anything, but that's a pretty decent trade-off. Our shipyards are going to be occupied with those jobs, obviously, but okay. Again, we're running out of jobs. Surely the Nitraxi are. Oh right, yeah. No, sorry, it's not the chattel slavery. I want indentured servitude. Okay. Yeah, that relic world, I think, is gonna be the key to me, like, not having my economy sort of fall apart. I do also need to think, I should probably sketch out my fleet designs. Oh dear. Why are you all like this? Rouge Light Girl, thank you for... Oh no, my apologies. Well, no, I should still thank Rouge Light Girl, because obviously being... being a present, pleasant, and valued member of the community counts for something. So Olaf, as always, thank you very much for supporting, not just supporting my, not just supporting my channel, but supporting it in such a way that other people are able to enjoy some of the things that bring me joy about the stream. So Rouge Light Girl requires no introduction, but for those of you who have been have either gotten a sub on your own or have gifted a sub, you can get access to you'll have direct access to most of those emotes. Also, there is the system stock, the bits, which you can use to access them. That one always... I'm actually really happy about that, Rouge Light Girl, because I'll admit that's one of the ones where I feel a little on the fence about. But as always, I sort of defer to the Eyes of Sin and her talents, or their talents, for kind of the final decisions on emotes. Because Eyes of Sin, like the System 1 HMM, which is my personal favorite, is one of the ones that that was purely their work, their interest, or not interest, their what they brought to the creation of that. So I'm really happy that the things that I maybe feel a little more doubtful on are hitting. But yeah, no, as always, Olaf, thank you very much for doing that. It's obviously never required, but I not only just appreciate the fact that you're supporting the channel, but you're supporting it in a way that allows people to participate with some of the stuff that is locked away behind a paywall. So it's... please don't think that that's taken for granted. And of course, for those of you who are enjoying a sub from Olaf, please make sure that he feels thanked and welcomed for it, because it's definitely something that benefits me quite a bit. Okay, and again, I apologize again. I know I'm a little sluggish today. I know. Well, first of all, my pace in this game is ponderous at the best of times, but I'm doing my best against nature. Okay, so I think the plan was 3 battleships, 6. Is that right? 3 battleships, 6 cruisers, 12 destroyers, and 24 cruisers. Well, that would be 24 across the board. So multiplied by 4, we get 80. So why did I think... Oh, no, because it works out to be 96 in that case, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, 4 4 is a 16. Add that to 80, get 16. 96. So, if anything, I'm actually short. So my usual inclination is just to add another battleship right off the top and let it trickle down. So if I do that, that leaves me with 6 open. So then if I add another cruiser, that would leave me with 2. Yeah, so I guess it would just be 1 from the top and down. Okay. Not 100% sure how I feel about that, but I think I can give it a shot. So we will add a battleship. So we'll say 4 here. 1 of each. Yep, okay, so that's the new design. So why did that go wrong? Oh, because it's already at 7 and 13. That's just going to feed the others. So, I mean, production-wise, we've got all our work ahead of us. In fact, I probably should just buy up all the Galaxy's alloys at this point. What's your story? Go look for things. You do the same. Okay, so what are we up against? Yeah, I mean, one thing that's worth remembering about these guys is that they've got a very high military power, but like realistically what I'm up against is 6 ships in total. So if I have a way of overwhelming them, if I've got a way of handling 6 ships in an effective way, it doesn't matter so much that they have a lot of firepower. So like, it would be kind of nice if I could get a full readout in terms of exactly what they're packing. But here's a great example about where some of the battleship or larger classes, like they have these absolutely jaw-dropping weapons that will like one-shot things. But if they have very slow rates of fire, then you can very much imagine a fleet of very, very small ships sort of swarming and destroying it, just simply because it cannot fire the one-shot kill weapon enough times. Now, I believe the cruisers have some pretty terrifying fighters to work with. I think that's what they bring anyway. So you can't. I don't think you can just afford to spam Corvette. I mean, maybe you can. It's just I don't exactly want to spend so many alloys to find out that a Corvette-only strat is not the done thing. But it's one thing I want to keep in mind. It's actually one thing that I'm going to be doing in terms of looking at the ships that I'm up against. So it's worth keeping in mind here that first priority, of course, is to get the hull points to 0. Well, maybe not first priority, but the overriding priority is to get the hull points down to 0. So I need to deal 26,842 damage to the hull as quickly as possible. Generally, it looks like shields and armor are roughly equivalent. Slight weakness in terms of the armor. So if I have ways of bypassing shields and doing damage to armor and hull points, I want to take that opportunity. Alternatively, if I have to go through all three layers, I'm going to have to deal with more shields than armor, and I may want to adjust accordingly. Now, is that true for the reconstitutors? So these things are packing 2,684 hull, and they're evenly split between armor and shields. So yeah, I think it's fair to say the ships that I send after the mothership will be the ones that I send after the reconstitutors. But overall, I'd just rather not deal with them at all. So we're going to ignore them for at least as long as it takes us to... So we're going to ignore them either until they get to our doorstep or until we've got a navy that we feel comfortable sending out to them.
Boom! We built something.
Ah. Right. Our deep cover operatives have stepped up their surveillance on potential targets. This is in the Nar Consciousness, so we're going to do this type of mission in the Nar Consciousness a few times. Contact lost. Spymaster Daklinex reports having lost contact with his operatives on active deployment in the Nar Consciousness. They have missed a number of their most recent scheduled check-ins. In accordance with standard procedure, we must now decide whether or not to track down our operatives. Yes, we will find them, even though it does mean we lose some of the infiltration level. The key here is to get the capacity for 100 rather than get to 100 as quickly as possible when it comes to the Nar. Alright, this is worrying. So they've been able to build up their navy to something that counts as equivalent against me at a time when I'm potentially going to be facing a strong enemy. So one thing that I may want to consider here, given that the game seems to think that these guys will pose something of a threat to me, I may want to take the opportunity to go in and do some kind of humiliation CB on them. And basically what that's going to do is I'm going to be able to sort of blow up their military again. And what I'll also sort of, I'll cause them to be a bit weaker in terms of rebuilding for the next opportunity. We'll see, though. So, our efforts proved successful. Contact with our operatives has been restored. Spymaster Daklinex is already working to review the monitoring procedures that he has in place for work in the Nar consciousness. So, by the way, this does weird me out a little bit, right? Because if we take a look at the ships. Oh no, actually those numbers make sense. Yeah, they suddenly became quite powerful without me really paying attention. All right. This is not a good time. God, I am way too tired to deal with this.
Science ship destroyed. That's coming out of the nerd budget.
So I definitely need a starbase to like hold these things off, but it was originally going to be at the Zorakan black hole. So I'm going to see what path they take. I think we're willing to give up these bases even temporarily. And use that as an opportunity to sort of refit. Another log from First Mate Yathar contracted Zarbia about the subspace transmitter. Turns out she had just shoveled a bunch of junk and loose cables into an empty fuel canister. She's not even a real engineer. Pirvax is now leaking fluids from his mesothorax. Will surely perish soon. Envious. Follow the current of cosmic energy credits, Raxare, and it will take you to the truth. This is no better product than that which carries the holy seal of Numa. Shows your wares. Forgive us our intrusiveness, but we have noticed your planet, Kefroth 1, possesses unique potential not currently being realized. Didn't we already... Yeah, we haven't purchased... we've purchased this already, so we can't get it on multiple ones. So, not interested. Move along. I am interested,
wow,
that just won't give me the opportunity.
We really hit this tech out of the ballpark.
Okay, so kind of pointless to check these guys out again. Second stage processing of pseudo-refined minerals allow for more efficient storage and transportation. So I suspect this is probably why we couldn't close the gap technologically.
Construction complete.
We really build battleships that quickly? I should make sure I'm not building... I don't think I am building too many, but... Okay, so we've got 2 battleships live now. We've got 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 in the queue. Well, sorry, 8, including the ones in the queue, we've got 8 in total. So that's going to cover me for 2 fleets, but I'm going to have 4 in total. So I need another 8 of these. What happened to my sleeper cells? That massively sucks. The whole... Okay. Cease activity within the spy network, allowing its spy master to be reassigned while also preventing its infiltration level from decaying. Subterfuge government. Operation difficulty 3. Base 6. Relative encryption -4. Non-disclosure agreement. Required infiltration level 33. Requires an envoy to be assigned. Yeah, so there's nothing in here that indicates that this is temporary. How extremely annoying. So I hate that I have to do this, but we'll launch it. I'm going to have to obviously recover the Enlightened Kingdom, but obviously this is potentially something that I'll be going to war with, so... The agreement we signed giving you access to our databanks has run its course. Would you like to extend it for another 10 standard years, or do your researchers no longer require the information we offer? It's 5,000, so we've got more than enough even after buying up the alloys. Space Storm, either Ribe or Ribe dissipates. As quickly as it appeared, Space Storm Ribe has completely dissipated. Ship systems will no longer be impaired in those systems where subspace disturbances had manifested. Although some speculate that storms such as Ribe could lead to the eventual collapse of the hyperspace network thousands of years in the future, for now space travel seems to have returned to normal. So I suppose the good news is that it seems like they only kind of popped out of the black hole to scare me, but didn't go any further. A short list of targets has been drawn up. Those operatives who are no longer tasked with surveillance will provide cover for the others. And Gunnar has a... Okay. Off to the farming world with you. So what I'm going to do with the farming world eventually is move everybody who's not like a good farmer to the relic world. But obviously I've got a bit of a wait for that. We apologize, patron Farglek. We have sadly reached something of a creative roadblock. The Enclave is in disarray, and we have nothing to offer at this time. We thank you for your patronage, as always. So, we hope the situation improves. We could demand a refund, but in this case, while we will get the cash back, we also don't get Patron of the Arts. So, Patron of the Arts will help your Unity, which is obviously very, very useful after the new update.
Complete.
Okay, big moment for us here. Let's colonize. So I'll fill in the gaps here. I might eventually do it with these as well, but I'm still kind of trying to pretend that I care about Sprawl. Oh, there was another really important step, which was I got the research. I got the research center. Ooh, I hope that wasn't my curators. But yeah, I also got the research center, but I didn't do anything with it. So I will work on that fairly soon. Deep Space Communication Arrays picked up a brief automated distress call from the Curator Station in the Oxygen system. The transmission ceased after just a few minutes, and long-range recon probes have confirmed that the ancient space station has been destroyed. Residual ion trails suggest that forces from the Grey Tempest were behind this attack.
Boom. We built something.
Nope, Calsanche is running out of space for people to work. I clearly need to be building other things. The other thing I need to realize is my command limit. So I've actually overextended. Okay. I'm just gonna build through. I'm gonna build through the trouble. The penalties, at least until the economy really starts to lag from it. Employment's the bigger problem, though. So we've got colony starting here. Maybe with the construction ship, I can consider another base. So the thing that we really need right now are consumer goods, which is something that I can sort of build in any habitat that I want, really. Yeah, so we'll just turn one of these rocks into a factory. Although a science-based base would be even better. Okay, that's a non-starter. Nihal, really? How much you want to bet I can't build a habitat around? So what I'm doing here is I'm trying to find a world that doesn't have... I'm trying to find like a world that doesn't have a whole lot of science on it. So far it looks like all of them are like 3s and 5s. So of course when I'm just starting a game, I mean, maybe Maya... Nope, Maya's a star, so that's not going to help me. Yeah, like giving up a 9 engineering world is not the way to go there. Oops, sorry. Hit the Windows key instead. I mean, the one thing for me to remember is that whatever I do give up, like I'm going to be getting back in the form of science production. But still, like, feels bad. How's my social research? It's not one of my strong... Well, it's the middle of the pack. You know what, just for the sake of getting on with it, let's build a habitat here. So it's a little weird because I'm still sort of struggling to build consumer goods, but I'm going to build a research center first, and then we're going to build a proper factory. Science and research. Another curator station destroyed. Okay. Unemployment abounds. I think we're just gonna have to let this is just gonna have to sort itself out at some point. At least until
Another bleeding edge technology discovered.
Worlds get colonized. Irid Rock was unable to build a starbase in Dothan. Resources have been refunded. What happened here? Oh, right. It didn't have the right. No, I know what happened. With pre-programmed nanocircuits, many consumer products can be rapidly assembled in fabricators. I think machine template system, just because of its expense. Also, because of all of the space problems I'm running into, I believe we will upgrade to advanced habitats before too long. But realizing that they still have inferior fleet power to us, that still gives us access to potentially overtaking them technologically, which I'm not quite ready to give up on that possibility. Our operatives are drawing up a short list of potential sleeper cells within the Loxung Grakva Royal States. They hope to find a set of suitable positions where agents may appear innocuous and yet remain poised to strike for a prolonged period of time. Kinda scary. Okay. A few things I want to do here. So number one of it would have been to put a research center down, except for the fact that it's the space station. There's no space for any of this stuff. This kind of upsets me. Oh, no, it doesn't upset me because we still have a job available. So, so I do want to keep growing pops. I just want to keep growing pops that will actually perform the jobs that I want them to do. So actually, here's what we'll try to do. So on Caster, let's say we prioritize medical worker. No, we'll prioritize enforcers. There we go. See how long that lasts. Ah, okay. I wasn't expecting the gas problem. Just buy a lot and then I don't have to worry about it ever again. So this is still planned to be a tech world. I don't actually... Oh no, it's got a couple research. Okay. So basically anything listed as a tech world that's like demonstrating the ability to be one. And actually... No, anything but that. I'm gonna replace the fabricator now, because if I don't do it now, I'm never going to get it done. I'm also going to replace this administrative office because it obviously does something different, and I do prefer the idea of specialization here. So they're still filling jobs. Generator world. This can become a factory. Got 6 slots available. Okay, Siluria is about to get maxed out. That's currently a factory world. This counts as an industrial world. Then again, I actually think industrial worlds make sense here, so... So like I don't want to become so obsessed with generating consumer goods that I don't generate alloys, because alloys are obviously going to be the way that I fight the Grey Tempest when the time comes. I'm feeling like I have a shortfall of tech worlds now. Okay, well, I think I'll live with the decisions that I've made, and then I may have to try embiggening some planets. Also upgrading stations, because those will give me the... I think those will give me the anchorages that that I need to be able to support a larger fleet. Also, on the starbase, I'm assuming I probably have a colony ship in the queue. Yeah, let's just get that to the top. As the operation nears its conclusion, Spymaster Dakalinex has moved to secure our new asset within the Nar consciousness. Our remaining operatives are poised to facilitate any cover that he may need. And Spymaster Dakalinex reports from the Nar consciousness. A successful execution so far. We have laid claim to part of the Nar consciousness entity, an asset which will allow us to interfere with the Hive, obscure our movements against it, and much more. Okay, so this is kind of a perennial mission. Oh, wow. So either my navy started sucking, or everybody's bulked up to deal with the Grey Tempest. Really could be either or. But it makes me glad I didn't try to subsidize these guys. Sorry, I keep saying subsidize. It makes me glad I didn't try to vassalize them, turn them into subsidiary.
Imagine the profit margins on this tech.
This corporate agency promotes a wide variety of interstellar tourist attractions, as well as offering employment packages and signing bonuses to potential immigrants interested in relocating to corporate space. So, again, some low-hanging fruit here, so either clone army or create a thrall world. I think I'll do the clone army. At some point, I probably need to decide what I'm doing with the remaining slots. So if this is a tech world, it's pretty obviously only one thing I need to do. Although with that in mind, maybe we hold off on the rest of that until I have some enforcers. A list of targets has been finalized and our operatives have been quietly drifting their way into position. They await our signal to begin establishing sleeper cells. Commence the operation. Sleeper cells established. Reports from Operation Prepare Sleeper Cells are favorable so far. After considerable effort and numerous carefully concealed falsifications, we have managed to plant a number of operatives in low-level positions within the Loxongrak Van military. From there, they will be able to update us on the latest happenings in the Loxongrak Va Royal States and maintain our long-term ability to conduct operations there should we wish it. Okay, so let's try and repair some of the losses from before. People are building gateways already? No, that had to be an event. The echoes inside. Readings from Brius 5 reveal that it was once mostly covered in lush vegetation. Now the forlorn orb is little more than a barren rock. Despite lacking any noteworthy tectonic activity, sensory scans of the planet have registered puzzling seismographic data. Something is moving underground, something big. This warrants further investigation. And the Pyrrhon tribes have now become more xenophilic, which is good for business. So apparently I've got a gas leak somewhere. I'll just do this for maintaining. We don't need to build doing that. Oh, and apparently I've had a... So I know I lost a science ship. I haven't made an effort to replace it, but what's the closest one I have that's not currently on a mission?
Ship status cutting edge.
Okay, that's good. We're going to slowly make our way to the battleships that we want them to have.
Another bleeding edge technology discovered.
Actually, for these, I think we can afford to do reinforced fleet. Rewritable assembly templates allow for the creation of bespoke synthetic worker designs. I think droids will take me on the path to improving my... Nope. See, droids is nice because it will improve my labor force, but again, I want to try and build things in such a way that I overtake my neighbors technologically. So, mineral cutting beams it is, 10% to mineral output. I guess one thing that I'm lucky about is that the Grey Tempest has kind of left me alone. But let's see what kind of a fleet my neighbors are working with. So it seems like they're not in the neighborhood. Yeah, so definitely counts as a superior navy. But there's a very reasonable question as to where it is. So I was under the impression that I could see the movements of that navy. Oh, actually that's a terrible impression. We don't have the knowledge for it. That's why I can't see it. Okay. I believe I'm going to get kicked out of the council. So I need to do something about the Nar consciousness, or I need to do something to improve my status. Esteemed oligarch Farglek, a decade ago the Natraxian rum runners pledged to support the artisan troop, and so you have. The time of your patronage is coming to an end, but we would be remiss not to ask, would you care to renew your subscription to the finest arts and crafts in the galaxy? It's a deal. Let's just get a quick idea about what's going on here. So technology, yeah, they are just killing me. Yeah, we're still lagging. We're actually still lagging our neighbor as well. Arguably, I have a better shot at Oh, see, yeah, this is the funny thing too. I'm not even really beating them economy-wise. It's just because I have mercantile. Yeah, so it is actually quite close between the two of us. So I have more pops, but they have got a stronger fleet and just an absolute technological powerhouse. Huh. Tricky business. Crash starship. The translated log appears to have been recorded by Uxia, the third mate. First mate Yathar committed suicide by ripping off his own antennas yesterday. Technician, second class Missiva, declared herself empress shortly afterwards, but food riots forced her into exile on the lower decks. Situation very bleak. Cannibalism widespread. Pirvax has turned entirely magenta after his lower abdomen exploded yesterday. Should be dead, but is not. Now worshipped as deity by Gamma Shift. Curious. Okay, so, let's be honest here. I've been hoping for the advantages of domination for a while now, and they haven't really been realized. I'm still going to go for it. One of the other alternatives would have been unyielding, which is a bit more defensive. The starbase capacity would definitely be good here, though. But I think I'm going for domination. One, the habitat alloy upkeep's going to help me maintain a navy. What was it? Oh, huh. For some reason I thought domination also gave you something a little bit more related to having... like having vassals, but it seems that that's not true anymore. Although some bonuses to slaves is kind of nice. It's kind of hard to see how expansion's really going to help me here. Well, no, reducing the empire size costs on expansion's actually pretty good. I've got room for 3 more, so if we did domination, expansion, unyielding wouldn't hurt there, I suppose. Diplomacy would be good if I want to extend my spy network. Adaptability... I think we can live without. Harmony's actually a fairly good one also because unless they changed... Alright, so fewer... It looks like there are fewer opportunities for... So this seems like it should be a higher unity thing, but it's not. Yeah, I don't know. Off the top of my, off the top of my head, domination, expansion, and unyielding seem to be pretty good. Ah! Yeah, I'm gonna get kicked out. I don't think there's anything I can do about it. Alright, well, we'll be back.
This tech had better generate some
Our deep covered
revenue.
operatives have stepped up their surveillance on potential targets. Evolving artificial intellects are opening the door to the possibility for true synthetic sapience. Our physics is definitely rolling on. Hard to argue with advanced combat roles, in my opinion. Monthly trade price is wrong. For which one? That's a little surprising, actually. But we're sitting on 398, so I'm gonna let the market kind of get back to a sensible place. I do need the alloys for other things, but I think I'm gonna start upgrading some of my star bases. In fact, probably the anchorages are a better.
Prospect analyzed.
Are a better option here, but definitely this council moment.
This tech had better generate some revenue.
It's a bit of a wake-up call in terms of how I've been managing things. Gene banks filter and curate available genomes for deployment and clones. Let's go for ship fire rates. Definitely tasty, but let's keep on the path.
Planetary exploitation forecast complete.
The Mirovandia Imperial Sons. Okay, so these guys kind of seem like they're going to be causing some trouble with me. So who are their friends? And can I get away with causing them some trouble? They're at war with the Tecarus Link. I think they're in a... yeah, they're in a treaty. It's the Confederation of Zaco. But if they're the senior partner, they're not. These guys are probably... Well... Okay, so there's a couple ways that we can draw some better inferences. Oh wow, I'm really falling behind. The Nars moved up. Man, what happened to the Nar? Like they went from being a non-entity to... I mean, I guess it's because of the Grey Tempest that sort of forced them to make their move. So that means we either want to knock over the Tecarus Link. So probably the way that we would wind up at war with the Tecarus Link would be because I want to vassalize the other Megacorp. I'm curious if there's a way for me to accomplish that without having to completely wipe out the Tecarus. Well, I mean, they're equivalent fleet power, so... So here's a question. What if I try to forge a more... So we've got the defensive pact, but could we turn that into some kind of a military alliance? Yeah, as a hive mind... I don't know. I think I'm just gonna have to do this the old-fashioned way and build my way up. But what I can do is use the galactic community to try and figure out what I'm up against. So the Zaco get... Yeah, so it's like fleet power unknown, but it gives us like everything and one unknown. So it's like, well, it's not that hard to calculate. So I'm actually gonna formally calculate it here. So I've got 1890. We subtract 510 for its technology. We subtract 385. No. Add that 385 back in. We subtract 539 for its economy. We subtract 430 for its pops, which leaves us with 411. But we also need to remember that there is the readied shield. So we need 80% of that, which means that they are at 328. So what's a neighbor that I can actually see the army for to compare? Well, really... I'd probably say it's my neighbors over here. So these guys who, in fairness, were actually equivalent to me at one point. So for my count, I'm 1483 now. They're at 757. So I'm not 100% sure how these numbers get calculated. But on paper, it would say that these guys are half of what they're half of what the so yeah, I mean, what it boils down to is if I want to cause a little bit of trouble, I'd have to find the wormhole that would facilitate that. Okay, it's this one. I think the better option is to just try and close that gap. In fact, there is an argument that I should move my intelligence operations to the Miravandia Imperial Sun so I can find out whether or not they do genuinely count as inferior or not. But yeah, either these guys, the Confederation of Zaco, or the Elamine Concern are potential acquisition targets, let's say. I wish I had a better idea of exactly what kind of jobs these things were doing. Because like these two robots look identical, so I'm gonna need to figure out like how am I gonna sort out the difference? Well, I guess for these ones, say better energy. I know that's going to cost us.
Log updated.
Might as well get it out of the way, though. We'll do the same to the other batch, but I'll need to do a little hunting. Okay, I really need to get these anchorages upgraded. Attack van. Yeah, that's kind of built for. Both of these are for guarding.
Preparing planet for resource extraction.
Well, we knew this was coming, so branch office shut down on Conaramis. Our branch office on Conaramis inside the Enlightened Kingdom of Conaramis was recently forced to close after mass arrests made by the local authorities. It seems that recent reduction in crime on the planet enabled the law enforcement agencies to focus their efforts on disrupting our operations. I suppose the bit of good news that we have is that we are swimming in some influence, so if I'd like to reopen a few things. Actually, let's work on that now, because I feel like I've got a better idea of what... Okay, so we've got 8 in Safe Harbor. So we'll start with the most valuable ones. We're probably going to have to expand slowly.
Resource scan complete.
Safe Harbor probably is the... Safe Harbor and Raprix is probably where I want to go. This is the one that just got closed. Well, that was a pretty good one for me. This is the other Safe Harbor. Nine's not bad, but I believe I have to pay for each individual one. Gleaming shell is just a thing of beauty. Ooh. It's expensive, but... So consumer goods are my big concern right now. So we're going to go for concealed drug lab there. And then I believe... No, sorry, this was gleaming shell. How many safe harbors are there? There's like a 12. Raprix has got to be it. Okay, 11. So that's going to be it for my influence for a little while, but I think those were good investments.
Research complete.
We completed modifications to the robot species. Okay, so with that done, just going to take a second here and see... Yeah, so these guys are super conductive now. That makes me happy. Now you guys are also super conductive. So I'm going to... This is going to be counterintuitive. Okay, actually, let's go to my generator world first. Okay, so the new Bale definitely need to be working on the farm. I hope I got that right. Yes. Okay. So let's see if we can find some superconductive robots that we can replace some of these other jobs with. So, like the new Bale here. So we got 5. So just taking a quick look at the conditions to make sure. Yeah, okay. So for starters, I do want to make sure that there's no new Bale on Caster, just because there's absolutely no benefit to having them in those jobs. So we will say okay, hopefully I didn't introduce any problems with unemployment on that world. What else have we got? Right, so I guess the next thing I need to do is see if I can find more misplaced robots. I could have sworn I saw a new Bale here. There we go. That doesn't solve the Natraxi problem, but I'm just trying to get I'm just trying to find the little efficiencies that I can pull out. So this is all specialist work. Caster, I think we've kind of done to death. Oh, this makes me mad. Oh, did I get these numbers wrong? I could have sworn I saw a robot that wasn't working a technician job. That's what I get for not paying attention. Oh, but we do have new bail, so... yeah, I could have sworn I saw robots working that factory. Grinner. Yeah, a bunch of technicians. Okay, so that's at least a start for efficiency. I'm just going to take a quick second here to see if there's any new yeah. So the time has definitely come to be shifting away from that. Actually, curses! Wait, so I have a job available and they're not going to take it? That doesn't make any sense. Alright, so there's one accounted for. And first of all, do I even have the slots available? Yeah, so the new bail are actually already they're already taking all the other jobs on Calsoch, so kind of hard to argue for them being there right now. Okay, what I may need to do to try and make the economy sort of make sense again, I may need to start moving some people up to different classes of slave. I'm not going to make that decision lightly, because I have a feeling once I rely on that, my economy is going to get a little weird. Okay, so 6 robotic pops. How many other 4 worlds? Jesus. And it doesn't tell you where they are. I don't even remember what world this was. Sorry, I realize this is very tedious to watch. Ugh, they're all technicians again. Okay, this is not a hard decision to make then. I probably should have checked this ages ago. It's just the same template.
Log updated.
So hopefully that'll give my economy a kick in the pants. Good news is that we've got the colony ship on its way. I don't know about constructing... Oh yeah, the habitat's coming along nicely as well. So overall, I realize it's not the most exciting to watch, but that was definitely a good use of time in my opinion. We're also very slowly making progress on our shipyards. I think the higher priority is to upgrade to star fortresses and such. Actually, let's see. Yeah, I can afford it. Again, just sticking the anchorages where I can. It's slightly annoying that I have a hydroponics bay here because the last thing I need is food, but... Broken Artistry, greetings, Patron Farglek. We have recently been forced to scrap most of our technical equipment due to a major malfunction. Would the materials in scrap be of any use to you by any chance? I mean, minerals don't mean what they used to, but this still hard to complain.
Research complete. We did it.
Ah, okay. So, definitely a black site. Our investigation of New Baldorak has revealed nothing out of the ordinary. The satellite the colony used to communicate with their capital is still functional as far as we can tell. Open a channel to the planet. Greetings from the New Baldorak Revolutionary Front. We have thrown off the yoke of oppression and are at last free from the tyranny of Baldorak. We have no quarrel with you, Raxar, as long as you refrain from aiding the Baldorak imperialists in their inevitable attempt to crush our revolution. You could help us take the fight to our enemies, however. Would you be willing to deliver one of our commando units to Baldorak? Tell us what you have planned. We want to infiltrate Baldorak with one of our elite commando units. They will then incite a popular uprising against the decadent elite that lords over our people. After the tyrants have been deposed, all Dathnak will at last know what it is to have true freedom. A straightforward plan, if there ever was one, Raxar. Well, I mean, we are a criminal enterprise. Why not sow a little bit of anarchy? So we will deliver your soldiers.
Log updated.
Really? You will? You are a true friend of the revolution, Raxar. Let me get the team together. Okay. So we should be able to use the science ship right away.
Prospect analyzed.
And I've obviously not been on top of getting
Planetary exploitation forecast complete. Research
exploitation
complete.
taken
We
care of.
did it.
Okay, we're more or less back on track for a lot of this. A short list of targets has been drawn up. Those operatives who are no longer tasked with surveillance will provide cover for the others. And further... Oop. Federation Association. The Mirove... Yikes. Alright, so these guys... these were the ones who I was originally going to have a fight with, and they've just brought the Enlightened Kingdom into the fold, which is actually, like, they're a council member and someone who can probably cause me some trouble. Further advances in predictive algorithms allow for augmented tactical decision-making in the field. Okay, I think market analysis algorithms... I mean, first of all, this is good because of my consumer goods, but it's also good because of the... Okay, I'm actually slightly curious about something here. Yeah, so it's going to bring me... The Nara will definitely want a piece of this. But again, the subsidiary status is the thing that matters the most to me.
This tech had better generate some revenue.
These powerful short-range lasers can easily slice through rock, making the extraction of minerals more efficient, a more efficient affair. Okay, as always, we want to... Well, maybe not always want to, but basically my logic here is that to try and close the gap with my neighbor, I want to try and research a lot of the cheap tech that I've been ignoring, because I have noticed on occasion that the game will rate me, even though it feels like I have a pretty significant technological advantage. So this would be something like, I'm looking at ships which have got level 4 components against their ships which maybe have level 2. There have been cases, maybe not as stark as like 4 and 2, but there have definitely been cases where it's clear that I have a pretty significant advantage over my opponent technologically. And yet, for whatever reason, it seems to give them equivalent status as far as tech is concerned. So my suspicion here is that there's something about having a tech that I don't own that feeds into that. And so this is sort of why I've been following this rather strange pattern of like getting things that I don't necessarily need, but are things that I can research pretty quickly. And it's basically just to try and close that gap. It's probably best displayed in the council. So I'm now sitting at 908 after the bonuses are 756 on its own, and they are at 975, 813. So still have a way to go there. I'm not 100% sure how these scores work, but I've generally found whenever I've had this problem, researching lower end tech has usually resulted in the outcome that I'm looking for. And this, like, at this point, this could just be my cargo cult, right? Like, it could be that there's no reason for me to actually believe that, but it's worked for me so far, let's say. And we're doing all right consumer goods wise again, so we'll roll that back by 10. It's just kind of to save me the money.
We built something. This tech had better generate some revenue.
Okay, so these are more defensive. Sorry, I was too slow on that. Food processing center would actually be good, especially because it uses volatile motes, which I think I've got like 1 billion of. Okay, I've got 4. But especially for something like naval capacity, one, it's a little more expensive, but 2, like, I'm already at my cap and I still need to build more ships. So in this particular case here, food processing centers is something that's going to allow me to further improve something that I'm already doing quite well on a world. I also want to take a quick second on these worlds and just make sure that there isn't any kind of unique building that I can put down. I do eventually want to do a world that's a little more oriented around Unity. But I don't think I'm quite there yet.
Research complete.
A cargo tug escorted by the ISS Irid Fick has stealthily dropped the cargo pod containing the Revolutionary Commando unit into Baldarac's atmosphere. Moments later, flashes can be seen coming from deep within the gas giant's cloud layer. Could it be signs of fighting? We shall see what happens next. Through hard work and experience, scientist Kirox has developed new skills. I may also want to consider assigning more ships to supporting research, because we've got a pretty good picture of the galaxy at large, at least as far as places that we'll consider expanding to. I guess the big question is, so I've got okay, so I've got 1 in Thrish. Okay, let's take a look at my planets. So Nadal, I think there's a little bit of a case for. Actually, it's doing better than Kirox's private stash at this point, so it also has a science ship already. Ah, right. It gets the planet versus the system. Okay. So is there a third planet that's a candidate? I would have thought I'd have a third planet at this point, but maybe I don't. So the habitats aren't very interesting in that regard. Okay, so what's the deal here? Because so Agar World... Kefroth is listed as a tech world. Wow, we just don't have any specialists on this world. Well, I guess that makes sense because we spent so much time cramming it full of the... Yeah. Okay, interesting. So, sadly, I don't have any more space for new Bale. But here's what I'm going to do. So Kefroth definitely needs some more, some more talent, basically. I really like roboticists here. Didn't quite intend to create unemployment that way, but we'll solve that by seeding Zandaban Prime. We'll also avoid making that same mistake on future worlds. Alright, well these guys are definitely causing more trouble for me. Let's see... Okay, well, I mean, I don't exactly want to have... So even 3 somewhat inferior powers is still a worry. This is Citizen Fontangal, Fontka. People of Baldorak have overthrown the tyrants and oppressors that sought to enslave our species under their rule. A revolutionary council has been established to see our great nation through this transitional phase, while we work diligently to restore freedom to the people. We wish to thank our comrades and the Natraxian Rum Runners for their assistance in making this day come true. That is all. Perhaps everything will work out for the best.
Another bleeding-edge technology discovered.
Okay, basic administrative AIs can be used to streamline supply and demand lines, reducing waste. So looking at these numbers, well, okay. This probably won't actually be the real number, but we'll knock it down. And we will... I think I can finally build my plasma accelerator. As the operation nears its conclusion, Spymaster Daklanex has moved to secure our new asset within the Nar consciousness. Our remaining operatives are poised to facilitate any cover he may need. And the final entry of the crashed starship. One last log has been found and translated. Patrol log. Officer Gilgum. Detected crashed vessel on 5523X. Moved to investigate. Vessel identified as the Ravink, a Class P modular freighter. A single survivor in critical condition was recovered from the wreckage, identity confirmed as Pirvax, boatswain's mate. Remaining crew either perished in crash or turned on each other shortly before our arrival. As per standard protocol, I'm leaving this log here and registering the Ravik as a protected gravesite, and recording. Curious. Alright, so that's done. Let's just move on to the dig on the new world. Alright, Spymaster Daklanex reports from the Nar consciousness a successful execution so far. We've laid claim to part of the Nar consciousness entity, an asset which will allow us to interfere with the Hive, obscure our movements against it, and much more. So this has kind of always been the story. Jesus, there's still 70. What I'm really looking for is one of the little microchip, the subterfuge government icon. But we have the money for it, so we'll just keep launching. As long as we have the means. Oh wow, we're doing well. So we're almost self-sufficient consumer goods-wise. So this has kind of been the goal, right? You'll notice that as I gain surpluses for these, I start...
Prospect analyzed.
Like I basically, where I can, I try to reduce the dependency. Just because what I want at the top, in the best case scenario, what I want at the top of the screen is a realistic statement of the... All right. Well, we knew this was coming at some point. The thing is, I'm actually kind of willing to lose these worlds. Like, it's unfortunate to lose them, but they're not really important to me in the way that some of these others are. The real shame here, though, I probably haven't been building anything. Oh, that stings. Yeah, we've been wasting this time. On the plus side, though, right? 16 and 15k, that's nothing to sneeze at.
Planetary production hub established.
Okay, good news there. So,
boom. We built something.
I think Zygar has probably got to be the capital for this. So we'll do our usual setup. We'll begin with a gene clinic. Actually, come to think of it, what do I normally do on these worlds? I think the Holo Theater, because of the growth. That doesn't seem to be how I've normally built it, because all these other ones don't have it, but it's definitely what I'm thinking of now. Jesus. Okay. Now, in practical terms, it's going to be expensive, but... So to be completely honest with you, like, I'd love to just get a ton of generators and make ridiculous amounts of money, but I think in this case we probably want to... We want something that will help us make war. So we've got, what? 3, 6, 9, 12... 12 available slots right now. Huh. There may be a couple trade-offs I need to make here, but I've got the basics down at least. Zygar, 6 habitat complete. Zygar 6 habitat is now complete and ready for colonization. So you may wonder why I'm not, why I'm not immediately sending people to this world.
Boom.
I would like to establish... I'd actually kind of like to establish the buildings and such before I start bringing people in. I am, however, going to colonize Zygar 3. I didn't realize that was an option, because of course we have the seed that we can use to transform the world. So it's a small world, but it'll still do the trick. Also looks like we have the option to... Well, hang on. So that's a Unity activation. So yes, it looks like I can afford to expand my criminal enterprise. So 6. I apologize, I have not committed the old values to memory. Okay, so 7's a bit better. "12 is even better. I think this is the one I was looking for originally. So in this case, concealed drug lab and illicit research labs. We can do a little bit better for crime with smugglers' ports, but I'm not necessarily building these just for the energy credits. I do actually want the consumer goods that I get from the drug labs. Also, if I can just keep bringing the hurt as far as the worlds are concerned, like they can't put enforcers on all of them, or if they do, it'll kind of grind the economy to a halt. Okay, so I'm gonna have to take this seriously in a little bit. I think we'll stick these two in for lack of better options. And it sure doesn't feel like they're... Oh god, there's two now. Yeah, they're coming for me. So this is the lesson for not defending the border that I needed. I really don't know if I can handle two. So this is way too late for me to be doing this, but let's get started. And honestly, I would have preferred to do upgrades and such, but let's at least just let's stop this spread. It'll also give me a dramatic note to end the session on. I'm slightly curious. Zuracorp destroyed. The corporate headquarters of Zuracorp in the Kanokan system was recently destroyed by an attack force belonging to the Grey Tempest. The few surviving board members have declared bankruptcy, and the corporation's remaining assets are being liquidated. So this is definitely going to be a defining moment for us, because I suspect it's going to be two of these that I have to face, not just the one.
Planetary exploitation.
These upgraded rotary autocannons feature improved tracking and fire control systems. This allows them to maintain an even higher rate of fire. I'd really like to be researching citadels, but I clearly do not have the cash for it. I think we'll do quantum missiles. Yeah, they're coming for us. Surprise catch. Our spy master watching over the enlightened kingdom of Conaramus reports a surprise successful acquisition of a new asset. A sympathetic contact who will be of service to our operations as and when we need them. All efforts have been taken to ensure that this new contact is genuine. Protocols have been established which seek to minimize the risk of potential double agents, for example. So how is our... We're actually doing pretty well on the infiltration level. We're going to do the same thing as before. We'll prepare the sleeper cells, because what I really want here is the intelligence. I don't necessarily want the... I don't want to conduct too many operations, but the Mirovandia Imperial Suns... So my suspicion is that we could be seeing the end of this playthrough, because a couple bad rounds against the Tempest Shoal, that will embolden the Loxon Grakva Royal States as well as the Mirovandia Imperial Suns to attack. Now, there is the defensive agreement that I have with the Nar Consciousness, but I don't know if that's going to be enough to sort of hold everything at bay. Alright, Ruined World. Massive, dilapidated structures cover the entire surface of this world. At one time, this city planet must have been home to billions, but now it is empty. Whoever lived here must have left clues about what happened to them, but finding them will require a detailed examination of the surface. And there is one other thing that I can do to push things in my favor, and that is spend a bunch of... Oh, it's an upkeep. Ooh, wow, okay. Well, first of all, I should have been doing the education and recycling campaigns. Oh, right. It's because it's upkeep costs. Yes, so I get it now. Okay, I'm gonna try and do something really reckless here. So if I were to pay for all of this on the open market. So I can't buy nanites on the open market. So I need 11 in terms of crystals. I'm already buying 4. Well, I'm glad because I'm basically doing the equivalent, Olaf. But thank you, because I'll admit I've not been feeling like a gift to streaming tonight. Okay, so let's buy 22 motes. So basically, I'm just seeing what it'll cost me to buy my way through all of these edicts. What marauders? Yikes. I don't think anything's gonna save that Corvette.
Evading hostiles.
So I think this thing's dead anyway, but... Ooh. I don't think they were generated in this map, or if they were, we certainly haven't seen them for a very long time. Okay, so it's clear I can't sustain these purchases, but we'll run. Well, gee, I'm glad you know so much more about my current play session than me, who's been, playing this for a while. With this vulnerable and unprotected trade route, the Stellaris system has attracted a large number of ne'er-do-wells, and following a recent power struggle, these criminal degenerates are now sufficiently organized to operate a significant pirate armada. They're using this ragtag fleet to intercept as much trade in the system as they can.
We've got to shake those hostiles.
Okay, so we're gonna lose this no matter what. Let's at least try not to. Let's at least try not to kind of run in single file. Oof, they're actually going for the really painful spots too. And actually, I think some of this is just my... I think this is some of my upgrades trying to run through.
Imagine the profit margins on this tech.
Okay. So yeah, there's clearly no way that we're going to be able to keep this up, but at the very least we can get the bonuses against the... Oh, all right. Yeah, this is definitely the run getting away from me. Alert, effective immediately, the Techaris link will be terminating the boys' non-aggression pact. Pact advantages were deemed unsatisfactory in relation to its diplomatic limitations during our last international relations review. But the Confederation of Zacho is opening the doors. All right. New cryptopreservation and protein resequencing methods will make food processing much more efficient. All right, I'm never going to use this terraforming, but like I said, just trying to get the tech number up through cheap means. I hope we can catch up with this thing before it goes between... Oh, Warform, no! You sacrificed yourself so we can stop them. Wow! So we crushed the escorts. Huh. That was unexpected. Remind yourself that overconfidence is a slow and insidious killer. All right, let's try and get these ships together before I completely lose my mind. Did I miss something here? Wait, why did... Ah! My battleships doesn't make sense. I really, really want to like the fleet manager. But I'm winding up with some very strange fleets. Oh wait, no, sorry, I'm wrong on that. 7 was the intended number. So, yeah, no, okay, yes. This is now starting to make slightly more sense. And I guess this gives me a little something to research. The last question I suppose I had was, so I have 2 science ships that were assisting research, but surely I have more. And actually here, let's... I think I have enough of a stockpile to keep me going... I mean, we can't do this for too many months, but we're about to have our other encounter with the Grey Tempest, so we'll build there. We'll punch these guys on the nose. Actually, they're going to come to us, so we don't even need to make any effort there. I did cancel the combination though because I'm a clown. Okay, we'll make our stand as best as we can. Science vessel. Okay, both of them are researching the debris for absolutely no sensible reason. And we're just going to have to let the pirates have their way for a little while, because we have bigger issues. Oh no, you don't.
Imagine the profit margins on this tech.
All right, this is very encouraging to see. I genuinely thought that we were toast. So we definitely need to repair and refit. Although I guess we should probably punch some pirates before we do that. I guess we don't need to bring the whole fleet though. The Eyes of Sin. It's a very pleasant surprise. How are you doing? I may not be on for too much longer because I'm very, very tired. But I am incredibly happy to see you here. For those of you who do not know the Eyes of Sin... Oh, nice. I know you... I actually know you have something of a specialty in terms of soup. So for those of you who are new to the channel or are not otherwise familiar, I often speak very highly of these emotes. And the Eyes of Sin is the talented artist behind... okay, Dr. Kastorka, I actually very much appreciate that you're chatting on the stream, and I like that you're excited by Stellaris. But one thing for me about streaming games is that I enjoy playing them my own way and working towards my own goals. I do tend to find I don't respond very well to being sort of backseated or told how the game works or how it plays. And one of the reasons for that is that sometimes when I do run into situations where I really do want an answer for the game, and I ask the question, I usually get silence. So what I tend to find is a lot of what happens inside of chat is me being told things that I already know. A good example here would be the Marauders, because hiring Marauder fleets is not an option if you're not in contact with them. And obviously that's something that, you know, an average player is going to think is a possibility, but in a particular run is not going to, you know, in this particular run isn't going to make a lot of sense because it's not an option available to me. And one of the challenges is, while I may be a small channel, repeating the same, you know, I can't do that because then this will happen, then that will happen, and so on and so forth. Kind of makes it a drag. It makes it less fun for me to do. And, you know, having played this game kind of since launch, I'd love to be able to continue doing that. So if I could just ask you, you know, I don't want you to not participate in chat, but if you could maybe just ease up a bit off the gas on the telling me how to play stuff, that I would appreciate that. Now, the thing I was wanting to talk about, though, is the Eyes of Sin. So all of you got to see these lovely emotes in chat. I do tend to speak rather poorly about a lot of choices that Twitch has made, because there's actually an article in Bloomberg. Thank you, Olaf, for gifting the Eyes of Sin 6 months. Olaf, please make sure that you're you're a responsible guy. You know what you're about, but I know how much you support and like give to other channels. I mean, for crying out loud, you've subsidized my my subscription to Miss Ariella for so long. Just make sure you're taking care of yourself too, right? But yeah, the thing is that I despise pretty much all forms of paternalism. So, I like acknowledging, I like saying thank you for that sort of stuff. And every once in a while, I just want to say it's like, that's some serious money you're throwing around. But I really appreciate it. There's actually going to be... I don't know the timelines on this stuff because I'm sort of tying off a few loose ends on my own financial picture, but I'm really hoping that I can start turning some of this stuff into stuff on stream that you'll get to enjoy. It's going to take me a while, but I do think I tell you what, my commitment to you, there's definitely a lot of stuff that you have enabled on the stream already, but there are a couple things I have in mind, and I am absolutely committing that when they happen, I can't guarantee when it will, but I'm absolutely going to mention some of the stuff that you've enabled that I've got in mind. Anyways, I apologize because I was talking about the lovely Eyes of Sin. And the Eyes of Sin made those emotes, and again, I like to... You want to live in the darkest dungeon final run? I've already accidentally killed you in the game, so I'll do my best. But yeah, so but no, I do. So there's a Bloomberg article about how about some of the things that Twitch has done. I actually thought it was an incredibly good article because it's described a lot of stuff that I've tried not to highlight too much on the stream, but I do think is a little bit of a, I do think is a problem. And actually it turns out that there was a lot of sort of non-gaming, sort of more traditional Silicon Valley tech types and business types brought in to try and improve the monetization. And so a lot of the things that I've been talking about the shift from donations to sort of affiliates, and the fact that basically it went from a higher than $5 average donation to sort of the entire, multi-millions that Twitch spends on marketing to sort of reduce the value of what I do to $5, which is obviously very different from the way that I built the channel. Like all of that was sort of there in that article. It was I thought it was a really good piece of journalism, because it was clearly someone who was not necessarily involved with the platform, but I think did a very good job of encapsulating a lot of like what was going on behind the scenes to a lot of things that I had witnessed myself. But one of the things I will credit Twitch for is the bit system, because I really like the fact that people have a way of participating in the channel, particularly with the emotes, through a way that doesn't involve sending money. As much as I appreciate the money, and as much as I really appreciate people like Olaf, and obviously Olaf is not the only one to have gifted subs. There's Index Gnome is also very generous among. Actually, I probably shouldn't just mention names individually because I'm sure I will leave one out. But I know two of them. I think it was kind of the two of them that resulted in the first hype train that I had. And I always want to acknowledge that stuff. It is it is always voluntary and all the more precious as a result. But one thing that I was always bothered by in the old subscription model is the fact that I really like the emotes, and I don't just like the emotes, but I like the associations of the emote, because I think very highly of the Eyes of Sin as a person, in addition to how I think of them as an artist. So the fact that Twitch did enable something that wasn't just nickel and diming every customer into being able to participate that way was actually something I thought was really good, and it gave me a slight little bit of hope. So, with that in mind, to give you some context and the fact that you do, I don't just say that, you do all genuinely make me happy when I see those emotes being used, I should let you know that it is possible to support the Eyes of Sin. There's the coffee page. Now, I will mention that Eyes of Sin is also moving, so I believe the coffee page has recently gotten a couple of updates to reflect that. But this isn't just for support. This is actually so you can get a chance to see the work that they do. So there's some pixel art. In fact, a lot of crab stuff. I've been very fond of the crabs. There's some photography there as well, but you'll notice that Eyes of Sin has a particular specialty for pixel art, but not exclusively so. And in addition, there's a Tumblr account, which I think has some of the older works, if I'm not mistaken, which is here. And then finally, I believe Eyes of Sin is open for commissions. I don't know 100%. I don't know if the I don't know if the move is going to be affecting that. But for those of you, obviously the pandemic. So I have a feeling there's probably going to be two events which led to a lot of YouTube channels and Twitch channels kind of becoming a little bit more of a thing. I don't think it's a coincidence that a lot of YouTube streaming, so we're thinking of people like Total Biscuit and that, I don't think it's a mistake that suddenly became quite a bit more popular around the same time as the 2008 financial crisis. And, you know, whether it's people who lost their job and were decided to do something else, or just simply had more time to consume it, I kind of have the feeling that had more. And again, this is purely correlational. I haven't really studied this in depth, but I would like to if the opportunity ever comes up. But I have a feeling that was a big catalyst. I suspect that COVID may probably have a similar effect as well. So if you are someone, or you know somebody who's looking for emotes and that, I really do strongly recommend Eyes of Sin. You know, obviously, you know, reach out on Twitter, see if Amanda's available. But you know, one of the things that I'd like to say is that in the end, you know, some people are just going to be able to gift, and that's great. But I also know, again, like one of the ways Twitch works, and this is actually, I think, one of the reasons why the concurrent viewers are a bit lower than they were in the past, is that the network that you have, you know, the streamer that you know, Night Valian was actually really nice in sort of letting me know that he's noticed that more and more of his viewership is actually coming from this channel, which makes me feel good because it means that all of you are finding something that works for you, particularly that streams later than me. But, you know, if you do happen to know someone, they're looking for emotes, like, please do, if you think that Eyes of Sin is something that would fit that well, this is actually how they make their living. And so if you do know someone, I think everybody kind of wants an opportunity to work to be able to earn what they do. And I certainly am very, very fond of the work that's happened so far. So it's why I take the time to speak of these things. And more importantly, now that Olaf's gift 6 months of subs, I'm going to be taking attendance with you, Eyes of Sin. No. Thank you very much for stopping by. And sorry, Dr. Kastorka, but obviously, Eyes of Sin is definitely a very cherished friend. So, cherished friend zone? No. But Eyes of Sin is definitely a very special person here. So, not wasting money. Think you can get bits via ads only in the US and Europe, and with a VPN if you're not lucky enough to be born in the first world country. For like a few years ago. Yeah, so I never actually, so I'm Canadian, so I've not done bits for ads. Bits are a nice thing to have, like they augment the amount that I get on Twitch, but they in the end it's something that I don't really participate. I actually use bits more so that I can donate exactly 1 bit and see that see that number go up. But anyways, you don't need emotes, but you saw some excellent radishes on Twitter, so you gave a follow. Okay, excellent, Rouge Laker. I mean, this is the other thing too, right? Like, it's about, I've definitely learned, and this actually, so I am going to obviously go back into the game now because I don't have that much time left, but I really do think it's important to shout out stuff that you want to see more of. Yeah, actually, Dr. Kastorka, if you don't mind saying, where are you from? Unless you're from Canada like me. But so one of the things that was really weird about streaming was the number of game developers that eventually reached out and like talked about either saying thank you. Some people who watched the channel said, I never heard about this game. And like it was a reasonably popular-ish like indie game, which I kind of assumed everyone knew. But you would be surprised at the number of people who've just not heard of really good things. So it doesn't even really matter if you're a big or a small individual. Like, you have no idea what your social network is like and whether or not you're getting you in touch with someone who can really benefit from what someone else has to offer. So it's why I take the time to talk about this sort of stuff, because I think people have a tendency to underestimate just how impactful the right word can be in the right corner. So not Star Wars. See, fair enough. I hope you're all right. Obviously, so I've got a friend in Moscow and I have a friend with family in Kyiv. So, it is in addition to my own anxieties of the situation, ever since grad school, I've definitely tried to keep on top of foreign. I mean, Canada's a middle power, so I guess I kind of I'm obligated to be interested in foreign affairs, or global affairs is our department now. But for me, a lot of this is maybe more academic to a certain extent, and certainly I appreciate having those friends and connections. It's I'm just assuming it's something amplified, or to a certain extent maybe just people simply, or the broader world, waking up to things that were anxious before. But I hope you're right. Oh dear. I played DEF CON 1. I'd actually really like to play it again, but did you see the article on, I can't remember if it was psychologists or political scientists, but Polygon had a pretty interesting article on just how, on like the dread that occurs when you play DEF CON. Alright, these new accelerators launch projectiles of high energy plasma with improved containment fields. This results in less energy leakage as the projectile travels in space towards its target. Alright, and again, for those of you, I mean, I'm sure most people who just want the gameplay have kind of already vanished, but like I said, it's important. I think it's important to take the time on things that you value. Because obviously time is, I don't mean to sound like full of like buzzwords and whatnot, but time is definitely very precious, and it is sometimes quite difficult to, like, I don't know, sometimes it, like, when I'm saying words, it can just seem like words, but obviously to take the time and use a platform, however small, to say what I mean, I think is, an opportunity to say, it's like, yes, I gave up something precious, my time, my audience, my concurrent viewers, because this was important to me. So thank you for those of you that stuck around with it. Yeah, actually, tell you what, I know we're not going to get that much more progress in, and we did blunt the Grey Tempest for a little while, so let me just take a quick second and see if I can find... I thought it was interesting, so... Like, obviously, I think DEF CON was based off of the Matthew Broderick movie War Games. That's definitely the aesthetic. Oh, it's a YouTube video? Ugh. Can't they just write? I wish they'd just write it. But yeah, anyways, it's apparently why DEF CON's like the scariest game, or is the... But yeah, I don't know if DEF CON's a game that you play single player. It might be a multiplayer game or that. Although in multiplayer, I still owe off Vermintide. I've not forgotten. I did forget at one point, but... Okay, now this interests me. Okay, no, this is less of a surprise, actually. That's a lot of... It's a lot of turtles. Oh, right. Okay, sorry. I thought there was the Zygar. Yeah, sorry, Rouge. Actually, okay. While I'm ranting about, I'll unpause the game while I'm ranting about stuff. Has anybody, out of curiosity, read or heard of the book Atomic Habits by James Clear? This is not going to be a recommendation, by the way. Let me just say that off the top. And I will also apologize for that, because there's actually a lot of people who really like that book. Nope. Yeah. So, I have the Eyes of Sin on Snapchat, and they had to deal with with me complaining about this book So my workplace had. Wait a minute. Oh right, no. I have two colonies, so I can put the colony ship, so I can put it in the so I can convert it to the Gaia world. I forgot to turn off the edicts, didn't I? But yeah, I don't know. Like, there's a bunch of different people who had recommended that to me, either online or in person. And I think one of the things that bugged me about it was, like, so I have to admit, I did not read it all the way through. And I know there's a certain type that says it's like, well, you know, you can't really say anything bad about it if you didn't read it to the end. And it's like, well, like, I kind of get it. You know, some people I know who are like really into the works of Ayn Rand, you know, sort of believe, or like, I'm sorry, I probably shouldn't mention individual audience, like, but I've run into a few people who sort of say it's like, you know, unless you've read everything by that author, you can't criticize them. And I'm like, well, I don't really believe that. You know, I do agree that you shouldn't like just give a knee-jerk reaction to some written material, but like, I kind of know enough from what I've read of that book to know it's not for me. Ruined World. After much fruitless sifting through the ruins, a number of clues directed our search towards the remains of a kind of planetary data processing and storage center. If we can find a way to gain access to whatever records remain, they will be invaluable for unraveling this planet's mysterious past. And a ton of social research. But yeah, like, I think the problem I had with that book was it, first of all, from what I understand, this guy is like a blogger, and it became very popular. His blog became very popular, and that's kind of his claim to fame. Now, the thing is that like you don't like you got to start somewhere, right? We need people to write, and you know, sometimes a blog is sufficient, right? Like, if what they have to say is valuable, the fact that it was written in blog form is not necessarily
boom. We built something.
A mark against it. But it would be kind of nice to know that there's more, like, more than famous for being famous, because like I've definitely seen more than a few of these kinds of like productivity / motivation style blogs where it just seems to be, it's like, do you just like sit in your apartment thinking this stuff up and like, you know, people give you your Substack money or whatever? Like that's the problem we have kind of with that style. Our deep cover operatives have stepped up their surveillance on potential targets. So maybe it's because their background is as a blogger, but I really felt like it took 3 chapters to actually get to the atomic habits, like the habit stuff. And what I was sort of looking at, like I was going in with sort of a set of assumptions about, well, not even assumptions, like it was kind of what the book had advertised. But like when I finally got to it, what it had to offer was either very, very obvious and like something I had taken for granted going into the book, and it wasn't really elaborating beyond those points, or it kind of felt a bit self-contradictory, but like it was one of those things that you can kind of imagine people thinking is true because it sounds nice. And at that point, I'm just kind of like, this book is wasting my time, and I gave it back to the library and moved on to something a little bit more interesting. But like, obviously, I prefer reading stuff, even if it is time-consuming. But one of the reasons why, so one, it just really bugged me and I needed to get that off my chest. But number 2, there's actually a much better book, which was the reason why I first checked out Atomic Habit. I mean, I can go into more specifics about what I specifically thought was wrong with it, but why waste the time, right? I've already talked about being annoyed by it. There's a book that I read called How to Fly a Horse. And particularly if you are interested in creativity, or you want to be more creative, or because who doesn't, right? I strongly recommend this book, and it's going to seem like it's not for you, because generally when people talk about wanting to be more creative, they're thinking about drawing or playing the piano or that. And a lot of the examples it gives are from the sciences. So the flying the horse is specifically a reference to the Wright brothers. And what I really like about that book is that probably from the first page, it explodes the myth of the sort of like lying around waiting for inspiration, or like if any of you've seen the movie Amadeus, there's like this scene where Salieri's like looking at the music that Costanza, Mozart's wife, has given him, and she's like, no, these are originals. And it's like, what, these are originals? And there's like no revision on it whatsoever. And there is actually a forged letter. Like we know that it's not from Mozart, but it's very often quoted, which is basically about this idea that, I just sit down and the music pours out of me, straight from my mind, and, I don't need to work at it. We actually have Mozart's letters. I think some diary entry. I can't remember exactly where we have all of this, but that is not what Mozart himself, that we know he wrote, had to say about his process. It was actually quite difficult, and he read a lot of music theory, and he worked very hard at it. And in fact, one of the things I found so effective about How to Fly a Horse was it taught me new things. A lot of stories that I had either thought were true or I didn't even know were stories and were very interesting ones, such as, for instance, vanilla and why we're able to get so much of it is the very first story inside of it. But more importantly, like, it's not just that it tells... So I think if I were to just tell you as a sentence, creativity is a lot of incremental hard work building on what's come before and constantly applying yourself and working and improving in that. I don't really think a lot of people would necessarily disagree. I don't think anybody would sort of throw down their napkin or whatever and say, bah! What are you talking about? Clearly it is divinely inspired, and, only gods can create. It is the divine madness that Plato talked about that, that inspires it. And if you don't have that, then you're never going to make anything interesting. But what I think made How to Fly a Horse so much more interesting is because it doesn't just rest at that one position, let's say, something that you might argue with. It brings evidence. It actually explores creativity in a number of different fields. It takes the perception that we often have of it, because there's obviously a lot of nonsense that gets spoken about creativity. And it faces you not just with facts, but a very persuasive narrative as to why this is also... not only is it a better way of thinking about this thing that we want to attain, but why it also just simply rings... like, it kind of rings true to you when you read it. Like, it's what I think about when I think of a good book. Like, it doesn't take its premises for... it's not begging the question, is what I'm trying to say. It's not sort of assuming the conclusion at the very start of the book, which I tend to find is happening more and more, and definitely was an issue that I had with Atomic Habits. So yeah, the thing is that I liked How to Fly a Horse quite a bit, and I was looking for something to maybe augment that and say, it's like, okay, so I have a lot on my plate. There's a lot that I want to do, and I need to find a better way of sort of building systems to make sure that if my, like... There's the difference between having the default position of sitting down and playing some Stellaris and having a great time doing it, but I haven't necessarily made any of those things that I want to. Like, how do I still enjoy Stellaris, but make sure that my default is to actually go and work on something that I think will either enrich me or hopefully enrich, the world. Hopefully will produce something that I think is quite precious and worthwhile. So yeah, and basically with that framing, I sort of wanted to go out and see, get something. Again, Atomic Habits was sort of suggesting that it was talking about building those systems, but it really wasn't. It was just as really, it's like, well, you just need to, feel good about doing X thing. It was like, well, yeah, like, if you quit smoking, like, I'm sure everybody wants to quit smoking, but like, it actually feels really good to smoke if you're addicted to it. That's why it's so hard to go through. Like, you can't just like yell at someone's like, just be better. So, anyways, like I said, really annoying book, but I highly recommend How to Fly a Horse. I do not mean to cross-pollinate the two because they're two very different things, but I kind of wanted to explain why I was going for it. I think actually here's the problem was I didn't realize that Atomic Habits was basically just any other self-help book. And if you like self-help books, more power to you. That is, I'm not like condemning the genre whole, right? Like for the same reason that I don't read like a lot of young adult books. Like I don't have a frame of reference for which ones are good and which ones aren't. It's just not something I'm that familiar with. But going in expecting something of substance and instead getting this very puffy and maybe not very carefully thought through account of something that I actually think is very important really annoyed me, and it particularly annoyed me that it took such a long time to get there. So you actually pull all your creative thoughts out of your ass. Well, I mean, I'm not gonna lie, like there's lots of times I've had ideas that are very good and I don't know where they came from, but I'm also not entirely convinced that is a unique case in sort of the framework established by How to Fly a Horse. I don't know. If you're looking for something to read, I found it in my public library, and my public library is definitely not as good as the one I left from Vancouver. But yeah, if you're looking, I definitely give it a recommendation. And I apologize for spending so much time talking about this stuff, but I kind of knew we're going to be wrapping up, and then a whole bunch of events came in. So we're going to review the position. We'll talk about what some of the next steps are going to be, and then I'm going to find someone to host. Sounds useful. I put it on your book list for you when you have a spare Kindle money. Yeah, well, I don't know what your libraries are like. I think you're New Zealand based. No, Rouge Lake. I apologize if I got it wrong. So Atomic Habits I actually got from my work library. They've set up for a digital delivery. I actually still have some of the physical books in my apartment, so I hope I don't get fired because I don't know how I'm going to get it back to them. But I believe my public library had both a physical copy as well as an electronic copy. In fact, I think one of the branches goes so far as to actually lend out e-readers to people if they don't have them. So if it's a book that you think you'll reference again, like I got an iBooks version, not Kindle, but if it's something you think you'll reference again, definitely worth picking up, I think. But hopefully it's not that hard to find at the library. The only reason I say that is that you may actually find... So number one, it may not speak to you the same way. Because like if you give me So this book doesn't have a lot of like charts and tables, but if you give me a book with lots of charts and tables, I'm super happy. And most of the time when people read a book with charts and tables, they're like, oh God, I'm not reading this, and they move on. So I get my tastes are a little bit different. But it may also be that the inspiration that you drive from that book could be gained by reading it with a notebook and, putting some notes down for yourself, taking that and then go and either making the thing you wanted to make or just simply appreciating all of the results of creation that are around us, right? Whether it's the computer, the fact that I'm not completely freezing even though it's snowing out. Like there's obviously a lot of different much more, I'd argue, like we think of them as much more minor acts of creation, but they're actually ones that matter quite a bit to us in terms of just our day-to-day life. So your library liability. Yeah, no, that's fair. Okay, guys, I do apologize for talking about not Stellaris stuff for so long, but I do again, part of this is a function of the lack of sleep, and I do kind of need to get on with it. So I did say we're going to review the position. So the good news is that we actually rip through the Grey Tempest fleets a lot faster than I thought. In fact, so much so that once I've got some influence to throw around, I might go back through the Zerakian Black Hole and basically set up a forward base and terminal egress, and then see if we can go hunt the central planet. The problem on that one is that if I screw up that calculation, we're gonna get clobbered, and we're gonna get clobbered quick. So I'm in a much better position if I take those things out one at a time. As far as my overall economy is concerned, we are doing much better than we were before. So obviously I did that madness in terms of buying a bunch of... oh, actually, sorry. There is some stuff I still need to buy. So we'll do 4 and 2. Yeah, so I'm a little bit behind on consumer goods, but I suspect that's also because my research efforts are starting to ramp up a little bit more. We've expanded the number of planets, although I'm also up another like 13% as far as my sorry, all those followers are mine now. But yeah, I'd say economy-wise, like, I think in our worst case, we were buying over 100 consumer goods before. So there's probably going to be some give and take here because I am going to be ramping up my research. We've expanded out to a few more planets. But overall, I think we are getting to a place where we're going to be able to push our frontiers a little bit. I'm really not 100% sure how I'm going to soften these guys up to give them an offer they can't refuse. I mean, it's not like they're going to be expanding that much more. But I don't know. We'll think about it. Clearly, the priority has moved past trying to turn these guys into a subsidiary. I think probably for me, first of all, getting a foothold into the L cluster, and then pursuing the sort of the final fight with the Grey Tempest is probably the way I want to go about it. I should also be a little mindful of what's coming up, because we used to be generating 100 minerals, now we're down to 49, so there are going to be... I think there's going to be some consequences for that if I let it slip. And then, of course, food. As we expand out, right now I only have one world that's... actually, I can boost it with the food processing facility, though, so we'll at least do that. But yeah, like, obviously I'm going to need to make sure that I make sure that while we are growing, I do actually still have the resources I need to be able to sort of achieve my ends. But again, given what we can do to the Tempest, well, I guess we don't know what we can do to the Tempest Shoal, but I suspect it will be very similar. Given that we have a reasonably quick fight, we can use that to sort of get some eyes inside the L cluster. Try and find the central location. That's going to be a big fight. That's going to be a hard fight. So one thing I will want to try and do is just build a strong base here to kind of hold the L cluster and repair in between those fights. But again, as long as I don't lose my head, like the worst thing that would happen is I go in and face a defeat in the L cluster, because then everyone comes to kill me. But if we plan it properly, we should actually be able to get some big wins in. But as always, thank you for those of you who stuck around with me. I know sometimes I have a tendency to veer off the game a little bit. For those of you who are just here for Stellaris, this will be back in a week, and I'm going to do my best to make sure that I get a proper night's sleep so that I can be a little more coherent and a little more, I don't know, just a little bit better at the game, because I feel like there was a couple of stumbles that kept me from doing my best. If you do like my other stuff, tomorrow there's going to be another Elder Scrolls episode. I actually think we're getting quite close to the end of the Shivering Isles. So I'm not setting myself to do all of the quests in the Shivering Isles. I'll do the quest that sort of feels natural to do. But I am really enjoying that DLC a lot. I won't talk all about like, you know, how I feel about it overall. I usually save that for the end of the playthrough. But if you started with the Oblivion thing and decided it wasn't for you, like, you may want to check out some of the stuff in the Shivering Isles. Not because I'm doing like my best, but because it's a I think it's a very interesting DLC, and if you haven't seen it, it's very original. I like it quite a bit. For those of you who like the live stuff, Wednesday we'll be back with a Brace Yourself game. I don't recall if Phantom Brigade is getting an update this week or next week. So if Phantom Brigade doesn't get an update, I'll be doing Industries of Titan. And if it does get the update, then I'll be doing Phantom Brigade. I have a feeling, though, it's going to be Industries of Titan, which is good because I actually really want to make some progress on that playthrough. And then, of course, Friday, Olaf's time to shine. Olaf, so I know some of you had to go to bed on Friday, but for those of you who got to see the final run, you got to see magic happen in real time. We finally beat the Countess, so we're getting really close to the end of the Darkest Dungeon, and I for one am really looking forward to seeing what Red Hook has to throw at me. So that's the plan for the oncoming week. And if you just hung out for a little while, I hope this was a pleasant diversion from whatever else you were planning on doing. I'm certainly not the best on Twitch, but I'm the best available. So let's take a second here and see who we can host tonight. Also, Eyes of Sin, if you're still around, thank you again for showing up. I know I do not move well, so the fact that you're showing up when there's a big stressful move happening means a lot. All right. Okay. So I don't know how long they're going to be streaming, but the VTran is online right now. So for those of you who don't know the VTran, this is Victoria Tran. She is the I can't remember her title. It's like high TikTok communications, business development queen of Innersloth. So this is, okay, if you've ever tweeted to the Innersloth Twitter account for Among Us, you were talking to Victoria. And she's actually hiring, or has hired, I don't know, a community manager. So I believe resumes are closed, but yeah, oh God, and Brace Yourself is, oh God, there's so many good people streaming tonight. What's going on here? Okay, I'm going to do a shout out for Brace Yourself Games because they're great as well. And Johnny, oh my God, I thought Johnny would be offline at this point. Anyways, I had the great pleasure of meeting Victoria in Vancouver. Very cool person, does great GDC talks, very, someone who's obviously very big in indie game development, but is incredibly approachable, very friendly. Actually, somebody who got me my first game data that I worked with. So I'm very happy to be able to host her. Have a great night. Please treat Victoria well. Check out those other channels if they aren't for you. And I will see some of you tomorrow for the vodcast. I'll see some of you Wednesday live. And for the rest of you for Stellaris, see you in a week. Until then.